up with a nasty sales line. He's like, this one's murder. I'm from Massachusetts, born and raised. Maintaining anything in life will eventually become exhausting. Building is energizing. Building your life, building your wealth, building your health.
Words that all right, boys, false evidence appearing real.
All I can say is this, all right? We have one of the world's, not the world, we have the world's best door knocker coming in to our fucking office today. All I can say is we got to be dialed in here, get your notepads ready, and when he walks up, let's be so fucking loud that CBS can hear us.
Hey, this is what I love to see right here. This is what I see. What I see right here is a family, baby. Let's go. Let's go. Today you're going to be hearing from the 16-year-old golf caddy, okay? The one that started from the bottom. Because starting from the bottom is not a deficit, that's a gift. Right? I didn't have a silver spoon in my mouth. You know, I'm from Massachusetts, born and raised, right? And I got to say something. I don't know if you guys are from Mass, Connecticut, but New England salespeople are the best salespeople in the world, okay? We're resilient. We're cut from a little bit of a different cloth. And just really excited, you know, coming into this room, seeing this environment. You know, you guys have a huge opportunity today. You know, I'm going to be very blunt with you guys today. I'm going to speak to you guys from my heart, but you guys have an opportunity to change your life forever. But we each have a challenge. You know, the challenge for me is to give you the aha moment. The challenge for you is to actually program the information into your minds, which is the most powerful computer that there is. Okay, you can make plays or you can make excuses, but you can't make both. So it's time for a neck up from the checkup. It's time for a checkup from the neck up. We got to stop checking our Facebooks and we got to start facing our checkbooks, because this is the year you're going to put your last name on your back, and this is the year you guys are going to make it. So you guys ready to get underway? Let's go! Let's go. Awesome. So really what I want to do today is share with you guys a lot of the fundamentals. You know, I've spent 18 years as a professional trick-or-treater. You know, one of my secrets is I've never worked ever in my life, actually. You know, I've just found this game that I've played. And, you know, I'm going to talk about a lot of the secrets. A lot of people say there are no secrets in selling. It's something I completely disagree with. I think there's a lot of secrets when it comes to selling. And when you understand these secrets, it becomes a lot easier. During today's training, you're going to hear these aha moments. Not taking notes today is like eating spaghetti with a spoon. You're going to get a lot on you, but you're not going to get it in you. The whole goal is to be able to get this information inside of you, where then it's programmed up here to the most powerful computer that there is. So we're going to talk a lot about the fundamentals, the things that it takes to be great. I'm going to give you a huge aha moment right off the bat. Maintaining anything in life will eventually become exhausting. Building is energizing. Building your life, building your wealth, building your health. Maintaining is exhausting. Building is energizing. So what is the secret ingredient to being able to build? The secret ingredient to being able to build is having fun. It's the #1 trait of a top sales professional, right? It's like, I don't go out there and knock doors, guys. I go out there and throw a party. If you're not having fun, it's not worth it. Is there any way somebody can get me like AirPlay onto the...
Like the Wi-Fi? Who's good at technology? That's one thing I'm terrible with.
Somebody got Wi-Fi and then like an AirPlay onto the TV screen? Yeah, cool. So by a show of hands, how many of you guys are in your first year doing door-to-door sales? All right, so a good amount of you guys. Where are you guys all from? Connecticut. Cape, Connecticut, cool. So a lot of you guys are in your first year. We got anybody under 21 years old in here? Oh shit. How many guys under 20? Under 19? 18, 19? Dude, 18, 19. You guys were literally 1 or 2 years old when I started banging doors. First town I worked was Wareham, Massachusetts. I used to drive from Pepperell, Massachusetts to Wareham, Massachusetts every single day. And you know, I think the craziest thing about what we're able to do is our decisions will decide our wealth. And that's something that I heard when I was 18 years old that really changed my life. Like I said at the beginning, starting from the bottom is not a deficit, that's the gift. And when you realize that the opportunity that's sitting in front of you guys, being a year, 20, 21 years old, by the time you're my age, I'm 35, you guys got to be inviting me on your yachts, all right? All right, you guys all got your spots in Miami. You're like, oh yeah, I remember Taylor came into that training for us. That shit changed my life, because that's what I'm here to do. I'm not here to just make a little bit of a difference for you guys. I'm here to help change your lives. Because you're most qualified to help those people that you used to be. And that's why I said I'm talking to you like the golf caddy today, the one that had nothing, that was 16 years old, watched his parents struggle. We're going to talk a lot about the concepts to get great at this profession that we call door-to-door sales. And I think the biggest thing that it starts with is clarity, okay? Clarity creates conviction. The clarity that you have with your vision, the clarity that you have with your mindset, the clarity that you have with your technique, your attitude, and your behavior. That clarity will create the conviction. And when you have a super myopic vision, then it's going to allow you to get further ahead. Does anybody know what I mean by myopic? Myopic is like tunnel vision, right? I can't look left, I can't look right. I've got a tunnel vision of what I want to accomplish. How many guys make to-do lists? Right? It's time to start making a not to-do list, the things that are holding you back from getting to the top. Every single one of you guys, you have a decision to make. You can take the path of the amateur, or you can take the path of the professional. You can make plays or you can make excuses, but you can't make both. So you want to take the path of the professional. The question a lot of you guys need to ask yourself, being 20, 21 years old, probably one you should probably circle and star is you should write down, what is my kryptonite? What is the thing that's actually holding you back from getting to the spot that you want to be? What is it that you need to do to take your game to the next level? Now this TV is connected to the same Wi-Fi, so I can share my screen. Does anybody know that?
I hope. You should be able to.
All right, let's see here.
It's both on the same Wi-Fi. So the thing is, this is
living room?
Not. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
all right,
let's
perfect.
go. Come on.
Here we go.
So yeah, we got this office not too long ago, so the Wi-Fi is not set
it's
up
great.
yet.
It's
So
great, bro. We're good to
no.
go. I want to give you guys some visuals so you can actually, see this as I'm training, because there's going to be a lot of things that I throw you guys. That's why it's so important that you dial in during these next 2 hours. If you start checking your Instagram, you start checking ESPN, then you check out and you check in, okay? Speaking of checking in and checking out, what does a strobe light do?
Strobe light.
What does a strobe light do?
Yeah.
On and off, on and off, on and off, on and off. What does a laser beam do? Stays on, right? Here's a big aha moment for me. You ask yourself this question: are you the strobe light or are you the laser beam? A strobe light is checking into the selling zone, they check out of the selling zone. They check back into the selling zone, they check out of the selling zone. A laser beam is just completely focused. They have their eye on the prize. By a show of hands, how many of you guys have ever heard of who Tom Hopkins is? Tom Hopkins, all right? You guys should write that one down too. Tom Hopkins is the father of North American selling. He's the GOAT of sales. He wrote the book, How to Master the Art of Selling. When I first met Tom Hopkins, I was about your age, 23, 24 years old, and I sat at a restaurant with him, and I said, I used to listen to this guy's sales audio back in the day so much, and I was just on an interview with a guy named Grant Cardone when I was about your age, and he had saw that, and he said, hey, I'd like for you to come speak at my seminar in Los Angeles. Will you fly to Arizona and come stay at my house? And I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Right? This is like my mentor. And I fly to Arizona. I sit down with him. I said, Mr. Hopkins, what are the best 3 pieces of advice that you would give to a young individual like myself? And this shit changed my life. And what he said is, number 1, do what you fear most. He said, do what you fear most. Right? What is fear? Fear is false evidence appearing real. That's really what fear is. So number 1, he said, do what you fear most. The second thing that he told me was, he said, Taylor, we must do the most productive thing possible at every given moment. So do what you fear most. Number 2, we must do the most productive thing possible at every given moment. That's something that I say to myself every single day. Is this the most productive thing possible at this given moment that I can be doing? Your life is like a stock. You get better or worse. There's no neutral. All right, so are you the strobe light or are you the laser beam? And the last piece of advice that he taught me was from his mentor, who is known as the father of modern day selling. Another one you should write down, J. Douglas Edwards. He is a dog. He is the GOAT. He is like so good at teaching sales. It's so funny when he's about to come up with a nasty sales line, he's like, this one is murder. And then he'll drop the line. And J. Douglas Edwards used to travel by coach bus, and he did 75 seminars in the matter of like 70 days or something like that. And he was going city to city to city, and he just spoke with so much energy when he's up here. And he's up there on stage, and Tom was always a front row guy. He ended up getting a flat tire. He's in the back of the room. Mr. Edwards is up there on stage, absolutely ripping. And he goes to grab his water, and he passes out on the stage. He falls. And they realized he passed out. They called an ambulance. They load him up on a stretcher. Mr. Hopkins grabs a cab. He said, follow that ambulance. They get to the hospital. He's waiting in the waiting room. And he finally goes and sees Mr. Edwards. And he said, Mr. Edwards, why do you give so much? And the response that Tom gave me, this piece of advice changed my life. He said, the reason I give so much is because we always have to give people way more than they expect. We always have to give people way more than they expect. That's life advice. That's not just sales advice. Right? When you go above and beyond for other people, they'll go above and beyond for you. You guys have an opportunity, right? Like I said, starting from the bottom is not a deficit. Probably a good amount of you guys weren't handed everything that you had in your life. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing door to door. And you have that opportunity right now to change your life, change your kids' lives that probably most of you don't even have right now. I don't even have kids, but I work hard for my kids that I'm about to have. I'm going to talk a lot about who is your who. That's coming up. It's going to be real serious, because once you understand my brain and it gets into your head, you're going to realize what's going to be able to take your game to the next level. So what I want to start with is talking to you guys about what's called the practicing professional, okay? When I say any sort of professional, what do you guys think of?
Athletes.
Athletes, what else?
Doctors, lawyers.
Doctors, lawyers. Speaking of lawyers, what does a lawyer call their office?
Practice.
Their practice, exactly. So the doctor calls their office their practice. The doctors, what else? All sorts of professionals. Actors, right?
OnlyFans girls.
So here's the question. Somebody said doctor, right? If I graduated from high school, could I be a doctor right away?
No.
What would I have to do first if I wanted to be a doctor? I have to go to college for how long?
12 years.
8 years, right? And that college would be free. I would have to pay for it. All right, so I go into debt. I get this degree that says I'm a doctor. And then once I get that degree, then can I be a doctor?
No. Like 4 years.
I got to do something called, who said it? I got to go through residency. So when you do residency, at least you start making some money. You can be making like $300,000-$400,000 a year doing residency, right?
No, like peanuts.
Yeah, you make like 30 grand, right? And then it's like 9-10 years of doing all that to be able to get this professional contract that all of you guys have sitting right in front of you right now. Every single one of you guys has a professional contract sitting in your pocket right now. It's just whether or not you take advantage of it. You see, the salesman is the only creature that faces rejection on a day-to-day basis. That's why rejection has to turn you on. That's why you have to be amused by hostile people. Right? You ever see my YouTube videos when people start getting crazy at me, I just turn to the camera and be like, all right, guys, whenever you're in this sort of situation, you know what you got to do. It's funny. The first time I do that, I'm in California. I'm like, this is my new hobby. Like, this guy's flipping out at me. I turn to the camera, and I'm like, this guy just called me a communist. I was like, I've never been called a communist in my life. And I said, and it was funny because he's like, what are you doing knocking on my door? This is communist activity. And I was like, what are you talking about? Are you sure you're not, like, looking for another word? And so I turn to the camera, dude, and like as I'm speaking to the camera, the guy's just staring at me, and then he realizes what's going on, and dude, the funniest thing, he turns around, he's like, what is this, an effing infomercial? And he starts walking away. But going back to, if you're not having fun, it's not worth it, right? Knocking doors in the freezing cold is not amazing. Having somebody slam the door in your face is not amazing. Having somebody tell you to get a real job is not amazing. What is amazing is pretty much outlasting everybody. You know, doing this for 17 years, making a profession out of it, and being able to help other people, right? That's like what I love to do. I love to help other people. I love to see the energy in this room. A lot of you guys have the opportunity. It's just who has the absolute certainty on their mission, why they're doing it, and who they're doing it for, which is what we're gonna talk about here shortly. But the practicing professional. What is a salesperson? If I was to ask you guys, what is a salesperson? Right here, what is a salesperson? What do you think a salesperson is? If you were to define what somebody does if they're a salesperson, what would you say?
Repeat that again?
What is a salesperson? What does a salesperson do for people?
They help people.
They help people. Good. What else? What is a salesperson?
Solve problems.
They solve problems. Good. They sell things. What else?
Close.
All right?
They understand how to seize an opportunity in a way that both people are benefiting.
They understand how to seize an opportunity. Great.
They take problems and give solutions.
They take problems and give solutions.
They persuade people.
They persuade people. Good.
They serve people.
They serve people. Good. So I'm in a market basket. You guys have market baskets here? Mm-hmm. Right? They have market baskets. They used to call it Demoulas back in the day when I lived here. But you're in market basket. You go down aisle 7. You tap a lady on the shoulder. And you said, hey, I have a question. What do you think of salespeople? What do you think she would say?
I don't like it.
I don't know. Sleazy. Bad.
Pushy.
Yeah. Pushy. All right, I'm like, all right, forget that, lady. I'm going down the other aisle. I go aisle 9, I tap a guy on the shoulder, and I said, hey, bro, what do you think of door-to-door salespeople? What do you think he's going to say?
Annoying.
Right? Oh, dude, door-to-door, bro. Right? Get a real job. Here's the thing is you should have never been called salespeople. You should have been called servants. You're in the business of serving people. You're in the business of helping people. You're in the business of putting people into much better situations. The process is not to them, it's for them, right? And that's why our job is to make it make sense, right? Because a confused mind always says, confused mind always says no. You want to make them like you, right? People rarely buy off people that they don't like. And I'm not pushing people into doing this. I'm not pushing somebody to put solar panels on the roof, right? I'm pulling them, right? So when they give me all these crazy objections, right? There's certain ways that I handle it. We're going to talk about what an objection is. You just want to know how I handle the first objection when I usually hear, like the first time they say an objection? Give me any objection. Yeah, that's the thing, right? We got to study it here. That's the thing, right? I don't need to address a smoke screen. An objection is a tactic used by the buyer to stall or prolong the final decision. They're going to have the excuses to tell you no. I'm going to have the excuses to tell them yes. Somebody has a higher belief, a level of conviction. The top salespeople, they shine with conviction. They have an absolute catching belief about their product, their service, their company. They have an absolute certainty of what they're doing, why they're doing it, and who they're doing it for. Okay, so the question I have for you guys when we talk about these doctors, these dentists, these lawyers that spend decades to be able to get that professional agreement, this is one of the big ones you have to unpack right now. Going back to you can take the path of the amateur or the path of the professional, is do you have that willingness to pay the price? Do you have the willingness to pay the price that it takes to be great? Okay? Because everything you do off of the doors needs to be to get you into the groove when you're on the doors. What do you think I mean by that?
Staying healthy.
Staying healthy. What else?
Fit.
Staying fit, staying disciplined. What else? Studying, right? It's like, are you watching Netflix every day or are you listening to your sales presentation? A lot of you guys, I bet, have never even voice recorded yourself on the doors. Start voice recording yourself on the doors and start listening to it on the car ride home. Listen to it when you go to bed. Listen to it when you wake up. Right? It's you wake up, you take a piss, you start sales training, right? You get into the groove before you actually get out there and start to make the plays, and it becomes a lot easier. But do you have the willingness to pay the price with effort, learning, time investment, and dedicated sacrifice? Because next to the word success should be sacrifice. There's a lot of sacrifice that's involved with this. But what you have to understand is you're going to go live in temporary imbalance for a short amount of time to be able to set yourself up for decades to come. So this is what I break down as the 3 most important fundamentals, is your technique, your attitude, and your behavior. These are 3 of the most critical things that you could focus on, fundamentally sound, to get really good at sales, okay? What is technique? Technique is the words that come out of your mouth. Attitude is what you program up here, the most powerful computer that there is. And then the behavior, what you do occasionally will change nothing every single time, right? Making these not to-do lists, understanding that your kryptonite, what's holding you back. You know, TOD, does anybody know what that stands for? TOD, time on
Door.
Time on doors, right? Time on doors, TOD, time on doors. So technique, the words that come out of your mouth, if your tactics are sound, they can't fight you. People are not buying from you because they understand what you say. They buy because they feel understood. Anybody want to think what I mean by that? Does that resonate with anybody? People are not buying from you because they understand what I say. They buy because they feel understood.
Yeah, so like,
Basically, because most people, when they come to their door, they're just trying to sell them solar. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's not benefiting their problem. You know what I mean? We have to benefit their problem.
Yes,
People go solar for obviously different reasons, and
exactly. People go.
Find that reason.
You have to find the pain, right?
Or the Band-Aid.
If there's no pain, there's no change, right? I might be talking about savings the entire time, and they're like, "Bro, $50 a month, it doesn't make a difference to me."
what did the guy do to hero?
What?
Where the guy do the hero?
Exactly.
Oh, you gotta level and take their emotion and show that emotion back.
Yeah, exactly. You got to build the emotion. People make the decision emotionally, and they defend the decision with logic. I even use a lot of reverse sales lines like, "Sir, we could take all the emotion out of this and just see if it's a logical situation. But if it was logical, you'd probably want to take 5 minutes to look at your design, right?" You know, all these little one-liners that we're going to go over today, all the different things that will help you. It's like adding tricks to your arsenal, you know, to get really good. So the technique.
Not to build theory into them, but to build tactics into them. And you build tactics only one way. Practice, drill, rehearse. There is no other way to go.
That's J. Douglas Edwards. He is the GOAT. Like, you just search, find any audio that you can of him and listen to it, because it's worth it. The more that you learn, the more that you know that you need to learn. Practice does not make perfect, only perfect practice makes perfect. Does anybody know who said that? No one gets us. No. Practice does not make perfect, only perfect practice makes perfect. If you win the Super Bowl, you win this trophy.
Lombardi.
The Super Bowl, bro. Heisman. Vince Lombardi, right? And Vince Lombardi said that. So I'm going to explain to you the easiest way for me to explain that I sell. And then I want to play some live footage for you. I want to do some breakdowns. I want to answer your questions. And I want to be able to give you as much value as possible today. But if I was to explain to you the easiest way that I go through my sales process, this is what I do. I'm weaving the entire time. Sales is the art of blending complete opposites, okay? Sales is the art of blending complete opposites. What do I mean by this? The first opposite that I'm going to blend is communication and persuasion, okay? Communication is not what I say, it's not how I say it, it's how I can make somebody feel, okay? Like we talked about, people make the decision emotionally and they defend the decision with logic. A lot of people think persuasion is a bad thing. What persuasion is to me is asking the right questions to solve somebody's problems. So I'm communicating at a certain frequency, and I'm persuading by asking the right questions. I'm going to give you an example of what I mean by blending, okay? So it's like going from talking about solar to going and talking about something non-solar related, like in the same conversation. right? So like I had one guy, which I'm gonna show you the footage of, he's like, I'm not interested. I'm like, wait a second, you're a beekeeper? I was like, my Oma was a beekeeper. That's what I call my grandma on my German side. I was like, do you guys get like a lot of honey from it, or what's the reason, right? And then the conversation completely shifted, right? So the easiest way for me to explain this to you, sir, is what we would propose is utilizing the whole backside of the roof as a power plant where you would produce your power on site and you're no longer at the mercy of the power company. So the idea is the sun goes up, the bills go down. Actually, I don't know if you heard of the sun. It was invented maybe about 2 weeks ago. Right, now I got them laughing a little bit. Right, like whenever I went into my last closing question, I said like I have one last question. It is kind of a heavy question, you know, on a scale from 1 to 10, and if you had to break it down to decimal points, like what would you rate my socks? And I'd always wear crazy socks, and they'd be like, oh my gosh, it's a 10, right? And then I go right into credit, right? Because it's here's the thing, right? Here's the thing: when you knock on somebody's door, the anxiety is here, and the certainty is down here. I need to shift that. What is the greatest enemy when it comes to getting somebody involved with your product or service? Trust is the only objection you face, but the greatest enemy is the client's fear. The fear, right? They don't want to make the wrong decision, right? People don't want to get screwed. That's usually a hidden objection, is that fear of, hey, I don't want to make the wrong decision here. So that's our job, is to create the certainty with the homeowner. The only objection you face with the families is trust. Right? I have a one-liner for that. It's like having a cell phone with no service. All you can really do is play games. I'm not here to play games, sir, so level with me. How much of what I said do you actually believe? You see, when you have a bag, how many guys play basketball? Right? How many guys feel like you're pretty good at basketball? Right? He's like, yeah, I'm pretty good. So you have a bag when you play basketball, right? If you have one shot and it gets stuffed, then you don't got a second and a third shot, right? So it's like, that's why it's so important to have a bag in sales, is because the more that you, like J. Douglas Edwards says, the reason there's so much mediocrity is people only know 1 or 2 ways to close a sale, or break preoccupation, or transition, or hear I'm not interested. Right? You want to hear another one that you guys should definitely implement? So this is so gold, right? So just somebody say they're not interested, and just watch the demeanor. Who's going to be the customer? You're the customer. Just tell me you're not interested.
I'm not interested.
Yeah, of course, sir. You don't want to buy anything, right?
Right.
It's laughing. The laughing portion, because then it makes them feel like, oh, well, maybe he is wrong and I'm right. Right? Like, no soliciting, you're the 5th guy. Yeah, sir, I get it. It's getting a little bit ridiculous out here, like people coming up to the door. By the way, my name's Taylor, you know? Like, you have to be able to laugh, and utilizing that during your sales presentation when you handle objections transcends certainty to the buyer that you know what you're talking about, that you're there for a reason. You see, trust is the only objection that I face. If somebody fully trusts me, and they fully trust me, does that mean they're going to do business with me? Who thinks yes? No. What do I need to earn? I need to earn their trust, but I need to earn their respect, okay? Perception is a very important part of being a great sales professional. A lot of you guys are younger, right? You're getting somebody to get involved with the power for the next 25 years on their roof. Being a professional when you go to the field. Being certain. Not eliminating the ums and ahs from your presentation. That's what we call seal talk. You know, seals, right? We want to eliminate those words from our vocabulary. And the way that you eliminate those words is by having something called a professional reflex, okay? It's like boxing. Somebody name their favorite boxer. Terrence Crawford. Who said Jake Paul in the back?
I was waiting for signs.
Terrence Crawford, right? Bud Crawford, he goes into the ring. How does he envision himself when he goes into the fight? He knows he's going to win the fight before he even starts. But if Terrence Crawford went into the ring and he needed to think when somebody threw a punch at him, what would happen? You get knocked out. Speaking of knockouts, how does a knockout usually happen in a boxing ring? Is it a one punch? They come in and throw the first punch and it's a knockout? How does it usually happen? Combination. Same way in sales. That's how you get sales, is with these combinations. Oh, well, that does make sense. Oh, that would be good. Oh, well, I never realized that we didn't have to pay anything out of pocket. Right? How many times you go through your whole sales process and they're like, sorry, I just can't afford it. It's like, bro, I told you like 5 times, right? Most important fundamentals that I focus on as a door-to-door salesman. Number one is clarity, okay? Clarity creates conviction. Confused mind always says no. Number one thing is clarity. Number two is repetition. You must hear, read, write, and say something 6 times to gain 62% of that retention. The number one important thing about presenting is getting them physically involved. I hand them something, I walk to the street, they follow me. You know, I have aerial imagery of their roof. I personalize the opportunity every single time. You know, like if I'm knocking the door, this is my strategy, okay? So like, let's say I'm knocking this house, 7280, right? I have this pulled up on my phone. This is an app on the App Store called Knock Buddy. It's $10. I'm not here to sell you the app. If you want it, awesome. I think it's a great tool. I use it on every single one of the homes that I knock. So what I have is I have the sun hours of the home, right?
No way.
So I'm able to show them from 5 a.m. to 3 p.m. they get crushed in sun. So normally the way I would start off my presentation is, you know, I'd like knock the door, I'm like counting, they answer the door. Oh, hey sir, how are you? Hey, my name is Taylor McCarthy. Actually, the reason I'm coming by is like a little bit different. I'll pretty much just cut to the chase and give you the short version. This is 7280 Wright Road, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, we were the ones that conducted all the aerial imagery. I don't know if you guys saw the drones. Don't worry, it wasn't Russia. It wasn't China. You know, it's a heartbreaker, right? Something like that, right? To start off the presentation. Now, I'm personalizing the opportunity. They're not going to say I'm not interested. I'm like, hey, this is 7280 Wright Road. This is your house, correct? Now I'm showing them a picture of an aerial imagery of their home. Now they're like, what is this imagery? I want to break down some of the anxiety. Hey, I don't know if you saw the drones. It wasn't Russia. It wasn't China. We've had a lot of inquiries, right? Another thing to say is if you're running into a lot of people that are saying, when you say solar the first time, like, oh, solar, and they start slamming the door, just change the word to panels. Hey, I don't know if you notice all the panels going up. The small little switch, you're going to get a little bit of better reception, right? Like there's different ways to handle, is this solar? You know, I say it is solar related, but it does not require you to purchase any sort of solar equipment. Is this solar? It used to be about solar, now it's just whether or not you were paid properly. Did you guys already receive an electric bill from National Grid that stated do not pay? What utility company are you guys selling in? Eversource. So you guys received this from Eversource, right? When you can add more to your bag, you get a lot better at what you do. So you have to earn their trust, you have to earn their respect. I have to be aggressive, but I need to be kind. I need to be assertive, but I need to be nice. I need to be egotistically humble, okay? These are blending opposites that I do during the entire sales process. A salesperson is first off a person that can sell themselves to themselves. They have an absolute catching belief about what they're doing, okay? There's ego that's bad and there's ego that's good, okay? Ego drive versus ego destruct. Ego drive is the way that you envision yourself. Like Terrence Crawford walking into the ring, he doesn't look at himself like a bum, he looks at himself like a prize fighter. It's the same way that you need to look at yourself when you go to the field. Ego destruct is when you start focusing on all the things you do wrong. Oh, this is bad turf. Oh, people are already here. Oh, well, solar doesn't make sense. Let's go to the 99, bro, and we can go get some gold fever wings while everyone else is selling. We can sell tomorrow. You know, that's called ego destruct. A salesperson is first off a person that can sell themselves to themselves. When is a salesperson more contagious than any other time?
Right after a sale.
Right after a sale. What does most salespeople do right after they get a sale?
They slow down.
Most people hop in the car and go home, right? Oh, I got one. We're good, right? We got a sale. We can do whatever we want. A salesperson is more contagious than any other time right after he gets a sale. I'm going to tell you a story. I'm knocking doors. I got 2 5-star recruits with me. Quote unquote 5-star recruits. They're like, we make 83 grand a year. We do this. We sell medical equipment, supplies. Oh, I don't know about door to door. I'm like, hey bro, just watch. I'll show you how this works. And come with me. I'll show you how it works. I'm on my way to the field. I'm driving out there. The song Rich Homie Quam, Some Type of Way is playing. I got my custom Breitling, feeling some type of way, feeling good on the way to the field. And I get to the field, it's a gated community. These kids are there, I pull out of the car, I'm like, let's go bro, first house is gonna be a sale. I was like, what's crazy is this family, she was pissed at her husband because last night she opened the electric bill and he plays Fortnite all night. So when she was cooking, she thought it was him that causes the electric bill. She doesn't understand the rates are just going up. And I'm walking up the driveway and he's like, how do you know this information, bro? And I'm like, dude, don't worry about it. Because IASM, I am sold myself. The first person you need to sell before you knock on the door is yourself. One thing I love to say before I knock on the door, bro, this would be ridiculous for them to want to stay with the utility company. They're definitely going to do it. This would be ridiculous. Then they open their door, and then I just transfer my energy. I teleport my energy to them, and I teleport my belief to them. So I go through my presentation. People react to the range, the pace, the volume, the diction, even when they don't understand the words, the body language, the energy, right? The people with the most energy make the most money. And I go through the process and I'm crushing it in my presentation, and the guy goes, this is a gated community, you're not supposed to be here, and he slams the door in my face. I walk off that door, I'm like, bro, that was nasty. That was nasty, we're on fire today. And this kid's like, what? And I was like, dude, my bad. It was her husband that plays Fortnite. We gotta go talk to this person. I knock on the door, go through my presentation, perfect presentation. Door-to-door soliciting's not allowed here, slams the door in my face. Bro, that was nasty. We're on fire today, bro. And these kids are like, is this kid crazy? We're out there for an hour and a half, door slammed in my face, but I don't have a PhD. I had a 1.8 GPA in high school, but I do have a PMA, positive mental attitude. Okay? Hour and a half goes into it. I don't get the result that I want. Finally get a good look. She lets me into the home. Same day self-gen. She said, hey, have you talked to Roger across the street? I said, I don't know, I haven't. Would you mind introducing me to me? Let's walk over. We walk over to Roger. A neighbor across the street starts seeing us all congregating in the driveway. I said, give me 1 second, let me talk to this lady. I said, hey, I have to finish up with Roger, but when I finish up with Roger, I'll come over to you. Next thing you know, we got 3 self-gen same days. But it's because I kept a PMA. It's because I focused on what I did right, and I didn't focus on what I did wrong. So going back to the fundamentals, the clarity creates the conviction. The repetition, you have to hear, read, write, and say something 6 times to gain 62% of the retention. Energy, the people with the most energy make the most money. The people with the most energy make the most money. Enthusiasm is 51% of your sales process. The enthusiasm is the spirit that I have within. The belief that I have of my product, my service, my company, the opportunity. These opportunities only come once or twice for some people in their life. Some people take advantage of it and some people don't. There's 4 bones of an organization. There's wishbones that want to be successful but don't take action. There's jawbones that talk about it. There's knucklebones that aren't paying attention or aren't even here today. And there's backbones that are saying, hey, I'm going to put my last name on my back and make the plays. You can make plays, you can make excuses, you can't make both. So what bone are you within the organization? You have to be the backbone. You have to see the vision, the clarity of vision of what you're doing. Clarity, repetition, energy, belief, and the 5th fundamental is service. You got to genuinely give a shit to try to help people. Like, if you're just out there to make money, you're not going to last. You need to say, hey, how can I genuinely help somebody? How can I genuinely put somebody into a better situation today? How can I create a franchise for the next 25 years to create my life? Speaking of kryptonites, you want to know one of my kryptonites? 2 months ago, I quit vaping. I was a slave to that thing. Just saw him take a rip. It's all right. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. He was super sneaky with it. But the thing is with vaping and stuff like that, that was a slave to that thing, right? And I'm probably sure, like, there's no problem. I vaped for like 3 years. Like, I'd be like, wallet, keys, cell phone, vape. Oh shit, my vape's not here. Oh, I got to go to a vape store, bro. You know what I mean? I was a slave to that thing, and I just said, hey, I'm done. And I stopped doing it. And the more that I talk about that, I'm not going to go pick up a vape after this, because affirmation without discipline is delusion. But really finding out what your kryptonite is, the things that are holding you back, you know, from getting yourself to that path of the professional. Take the path of the amateur, you can pick the path of the professional. So attitude, like we talked about, is somebody that can sell themselves to themselves. Why do you think any practicing professional would spend so much money on a reception area? Why would a practicing professional put a big ass aquarium in their waiting room? Why do you think so?
Presentation.
Presentation, right? It builds belief. If you were walking in there and you were sick and you went into that reception area, you probably wouldn't feel too good about it, right? So when we talk about the story about me being out there in the field and focusing on what I'm doing wrong, what most salespeople do is they're just like knocking over the furniture in their reception area throughout the day, and then 4 or 5 o'clock comes by and they have a perfectly good look, and then that's what their reception area looks like. What is a salesman's reception area? It's his mind. It's the way that he thinks. Self-talk. How many of you guys self-talk? Right? What are some things you say to yourself in the field?
I'm an animal.
I'm an animal. What else?
Keep going.
Keep going. What else?
Next person saying yes.
Next person saying yes. What else? They want solar, right?
Need to get a bill.
They got a bill. What else? Sales are easy, right? Sales are easy.
It's stupid if they don't. say
Stupid if they don't do this, right? They were already talking about it. Some do, some don't. So what? Someone's waiting, right? It's just putting myself in front of them. How many of you guys talk to yourself in the third person like this? Come on, Taylor. Let's go, T. Come on, Taylor. Let's go, let's go, let's go. This is a done deal, right? They never met anybody. You're a beast. You're a beast. You're a beast. Oh, hi, sir. How are you? You know? It's just the thoughts, and this is crazy psychology right here. Really listen to this. Closing is creating the decision. Closing is creating the decision. Well, here's where it starts. The things that I think about create words. Those words create an emotion. The emotion creates a feeling. The feeling creates a judgment. The judgment leads to a decision. The things I think about create words that come out of my mouth, creates an emotion, creates a way that I feel, creates a way that I judge what I'm doing, and then it leads to a decision. Well, it's the same way when I knock on somebody's door. They think something immediately about me. Words come out of their mouth. They have an emotion. They have a feeling. They have a judgment, which leads to a decision. Closing is creating the decision. Well, it starts with the way that I think. It's the power of thought, the power of the way that you envision yourself. You know, if you're thinking like, hey, I don't know if I'm going to get a sale today, you're probably not going to get a sale. If you have absolute certainty that you know that you're going to make a play. You know, I traveled all across the United States, and I did 74 sales in a 30-day period, and I had 0 bagels. Every single day I created a sale. I'm going to random places. Dude, I go up to Canada, and I'm up in friggin' Vancouver, Canada, and I get a set, and I knock the door, and I'm like, yeah, I'll be back in 45 minutes. And I'm walking back up the driveway. The guy was paying $50 a month on his bill. $50 a month on his electric bill. I'm walking up the driveway. I was like, hey, what's the monthly I got to get him to the kid that designed the system? And he's like, $168. And I stopped him like, what do you mean 168? I was like, you expect me to triple this guy's bill? What'd you put the PPW at, bro? Like, I'm like have to triple this guy's bill from 50 to 168? I'm like, there's no way that this guy's gonna do it, right? And then I checked myself, because a good deal is a state of mind. A good deal is a state of mind. I knock on the guy's door. I'm like, Peter, you have like one of the best systems I've ever seen. He's like, I knew it. Come on in. Right? Close the sale. But if I'm thinking, oh, this isn't really that good of a deal for the homeowner, right? That energy is gonna come across to the homeowner. So a good deal is a state of mind. Zip, zip. How many of you guys have a 4-digit code on your cell phone?
Of course.
Right? You got a 4-digit code on your cell phone? Yeah? What's your 4-digit code on your cell phone?
0000.
That's his debit card pin. Maybe not, but. So Tom Hopkins taught me this game. Throughout your life, you're going to find people that either inspire you or drain you. Okay? You'll find the people that inspire you, or you'll find people that drain you. You want to put your energy where you have influence. When you take your energy outside of where you have influence, you're going to wear yourself out every single time. So Tom Hopkins taught me this game. It's called the zip zip game. So how it works is when people are negative around you, you just go into your positive shell. It goes like this. Zip, zip, zip. I am now in my positive shell. I'm going to show you guys again, right? So somebody's negative around you. I've done it to a few homeowners. I'm like, I love this one, right? Right? So they're like flipping out. I'm like, sir, this is not a sales process. You're actually starting to make me feel a little uncomfortable, right? I say that to them, right? And another good thing is, like, I never try to argue with homeowners, right? When they're getting crazy, you want to know the best thing to do? You blame him. You blame upper management, because everybody has upper management. I'm sorry, sir, like, the upper management sent me out here, like, they had me going door to door. This is ridiculous, you know? because the homeowner is going to relate to that because they have upper management. But that zip game goes like this. All right, I've done it to a homeowner a couple times. I'm like, hey, give me a second. Zip, zip, zip. I am now in my positive shell, sir. But zip, zip, zip. I am now in my positive shell. Get your zippers ready. We're going to play together. Okay, ready? Get your zippers ready. You got your zippers ready. You got your zippers ready on 3. 1, 2, 3. Zip, zip, zip. I am now in my positive shell. Here's the deal. Here's the wait. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. If you guys have any girlfriends or wives, you are not allowed to do that to them. Because it's not like, oh shit, I learned it from Taylor in the seminar. Like, dude, I broke up with my girl because I did that zip game with her and she didn't like it. But yeah, you're allowed to do it around your friends, but you're definitely not allowed to do it around your spouses or your girlfriends. So, behavior. Everything you do off of the doors needs to get you onto the groove when you're on the doors. Who's this guy?
It's easy to
We're talking about practice.
Sum it up when you just
Right? You MPDR, you memorize, you practice, you drill, and you rehearse. Right? Being on the doors, right? I don't knock doors, I throw a party out there. You ready for some bars? Clarity creates conviction. Conviction creates belief. Belief creates energy. Energy creates repetition. Repetition creates service. Service creates your life's work. Your life's work creates freedom. If you want to take a picture of that, definitely rip that. Clarity creates the conviction. When you crystallize what you want in your life, then that conviction creates the belief. The belief creates the energy. Like I said, the people with the most energy make the most money. It creates repetition. The repetition creates service. Service creates your life's work. Your life's work creates freedom. That's what you guys are all working towards. Right? The freedom of your life, the freedom of helping your family and everybody around you. So that's a formula for you. Everyone got that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you're ready to go pro.
The day you turn pro is the day you realize that attitude in selling is everything. Attitude is something you have to build within yourself. You see, the most important thing you've got every day is your enthusiasm, your excitement for the job that you do in serving people. People will say yes to you more in your conviction, your excitement, your enthusiasm than anything else. And if you don't have it in here, you can't transmit it out there.
as they drill, they rehearse. How often do you sit in front of a mirror and give your presentation and they laugh? Yet you studied so hard to pass an exam to avoid an F to impress your parents. What we're giving you is material that will impress everybody because of your income. Give them the best. They'll thank you afterwards. That I can promise. I spent the last...
I wanted to share that with you guys, and you know, sometimes I get emotional watching that video because that's like the greatest. That's probably the greatest thing that's ever happened to me, is finding a mentor and finding somebody like Tom Hopkins that changed my life, that, you know, put me under his wing. And I'm super happy to announce that his book called How to Master the Art of Selling, which sold 6 million copies all over the world, he chose me to actually pass on his legacy and carry the torch. And I just finished How to Master the Art of Selling 2. He's given me opportunities where I've spoken China in front of 50, 60,000 people. And I'm no different than any of you guys. Like, I'm no different. It's just, you know, I dedicated myself to a craft. I found the right mentors. I surrounded myself around the right people. And like I said, building is energizing, maintaining is exhausting. So you need to figure out a way to build. You need to figure out a way to have fun. And when you're building your life, whether it's your wealth, your health, every part of your life, that's very energizing, and that's what is going to help you become the best version of yourself. We're all in the people business. We have to work harder on ourselves than what we do in our job, right? So you guys getting some mental protein today, you feel like? Oh, yeah. Good. Right? People are like, dude, Taylor's got a mouthpiece on him. I'm like, yeah, it's a lot of mental protein up here. There's 3 people that you need to find, okay? You need to find one person you wish to emulate. You want to find somebody that, you know, you actually want to see as a mentor, that you want to emulate in all parts of life. You want to find one person that you're competing with. You also want to find one person you're mentoring. Those are 3 very important individuals that you need to identify. Now, by a show of hands, how many of you guys have ever had somebody else shadow them in the field? Okay? Did you guys sell better or worse when you took somebody with you? Why is that? Why is that
Put on a show.
you got to put on a show? You just affirmed everything that you were going to do, right? You're like, bro, let's see, we can make a bunch of money, we can do this, we can do that. And you always sell better when you have somebody that you're mentoring. And if I'm being blunt with you, you're also being very selfish if you don't reach out to other people and share the opportunity that you guys have. Because these opportunities some people never have in their life, where they can put their last name on their back and say, hey, this is what I'm worth. I'm going to go out and prove it to you. Now, your biggest competitor, okay, who do you think your biggest competitor is? I used to think that too, right? I used to think I'm my biggest competitor. It's funny, you guys know how March Madness works, 5-12. I'm in a competition March Madness style. It started with 5-12, 256, 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, and then they got to the final 4, and they said, we're going to fly you to an undisclosed location. I was in California at the time. I put on my Boston hat. They flew us to San Antonio, Texas. But it was funny because every round that I faced another individual, I had their picture, and I set it as the background of my cell phone, right? Every single person that I was up against, I'd be like, bro, I'm not letting this scrub beat me, right? And I set the background of my cell phone as their face. And I remember I was in a house, and I'm going through the closing docs, and like my phone's out, and the guy's like, "Who's that?" And I'm like, "Bro, it's not like that." Right? I'm up against this guy in a sales competition. And what's crazy is there's this. My biggest competitor is not myself. My biggest competitor is actually the devil. Okay, my biggest competitor is the devil, and. You know, I'm not here to talk to you guys about religion. I'm not here to talk, I think everybody's spiritual in their own way. But I promise you, if you go to SoundCloud and you listen to Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, you'll understand why I said that. It's called, has anybody ever listened to the audio, Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill?
A couple of his books too.
Yeah, and Napoleon Hill is an OG, like before Tom Hopkins. And what's crazy is this Outwitting the Devil manuscript was locked up for 40 years because his wife didn't want to release it. And what it is it's his conversation with the devil, and the devil explaining all the reasons why he's trying to hold people back from, you know, getting to the best version of themselves. Yeah, he interviews them. And if you listen to the audio, it really hits, right? So no matter what you believe in, it's just whatever you believe in, you believe in. It's everyone has spiritual in their own way. And when I listened to that, I really realized that, you know, the devil is trying to do things to hold me back from being productive. He hates that I'm telling you this information, right? He does not like the fact that I'm telling you to do the most productive thing at every given moment. He's not liking the fact that I'm telling you to become the best version of yourself. Because when you are the best version of yourself, not only are you able to have a better life, but you're able to surround yourself around your loved ones, your tribe, your family, and be able to help those people. And it leads into the really most important things that I've learned in my 17 years as a professional trick-or-treater. And I think the first thing is, like, probably these are my biggest accomplishments. When I was in roofing, I did 114 sales in 11 days. In solar, I did 74 and 30 while traveling. And in alarms, I did 45 in 6 days. And a lot of people will talk about it. I document it, as you guys know. I videotape everything. And there's a lot of sales trainers now that want to sit behind the desk and talk a lot of theory. But everything that I'm teaching you guys is based on experience. It's from me being out there. You know, we got 22 YouTube episodes on deck. Like, there's a lot of fire content. I'm going to share some of that with you guys today. But this, all I'm teaching you is based on the things that I've learned through my life experience. You guys are all who you are because of your life experience. Number one, most important thing, do business with people you want to do life with, guys. You're going to forget how much money you make. You're not going to forget about the people that you made it with. When you guys are 75 years old and you're rocking chairs surrounded around all your boys, being like, hey, remember that blitz we had in Connecticut and you got that sale at 9 p.m.? You're smoking your cigars or you're smoking your CBD or whatever it is at that time, and you're just enjoying your life with your friends. That's why I do this, is because I do business with people I want to do life with. When it comes to business alignment, the 3 most important things to me in a business relationship is trust, loyalty, and longevity. Loyalty is rare. How many of you guys would agree with that?
Yes.
Loyalty is rare, right? That's why I say do business with people you want to do life with. Number 3, first comes the action, then comes the motivation. It's a lot easier to act and wait to feel than wait to feel and decide to act. First you move, then you have the power. Number 4, visualize for inspiration, but verbalized for execution. Conor McGregor says, or Muhammad Ali says, I'm humble at home, but I'm not humble in the ring. Conor McGregor says, hey, he visualized what he wanted and he had the courage to verbalize it because then it held him accountable. A lot of the goals that I set, I don't believe that I can hit them when I start, but I hold myself accountable. To be terrific, we must be specific. What's crazy is the average human being spends more time planning out their 2-week vacation to Hawaii in every detail than their life's blueprint and what they want out of their life. Play the game, have fun, eyes on the scoreboard. Right? This is 2011, right? I had 383 sales. My score was 497. You can see a lot of names on this list of people in door to door, right? I smashed them because I didn't want to have somebody beat me. Losing was not an option. Simple as that.
Was that Sam Taggart?
Yeah, I smashed him.
Yeah, I know Sam.
Including your family on the journey, right? This is a big one right here, right? We're gonna get real right now. Including your family on the journey, super important part of this. Sometimes you're grinding out there, right? And it can be lonely. It's hard. But if you don't include your family on the journey of what you want to accomplish, it's really hard to be able to get far. How many of you guys have ever heard of the phrase, what's your why? Why are you doing this? Stupid question. The question needs to be is, who is your who? For me, it was my dad. He has health conditions, he struggled, he always got down to his last $20, and he would buy me a pack of baseball cards. And he used to make sure I was the first golf caddy to the golf course when I was golf caddying. When I was 18 years old, I bought him an HD TV, right when HD TVs first came out. 5 years ago, I bought him his own house, right? Those are the things that you're able to do. Like when my dad dies one day, right, I'm going to want to say for the longest time that I wanted to make him proud. And that's why I work so hard. It's because I want to make my family proud. I want to work hard for the kids that I might not have right now. Vulnerability really is the birthplace to innovation, guys. You can set yourself up with generational wealth, right? And, you know, there's a formula that I created, and it starts with your desire, right? The deep down desire that you have. The desire of who your who is. Having an ardent desire. Does anybody know the word ardent means? Ardent, right? It's burning, like ardent. I have an ardent desire of why I'm doing this and who I'm doing this for. That desire will create the discipline, okay? When you have the discipline, affirmation without discipline is delusion. Those are jawbones, they talk about it. The discipline will lead to demonstration. The demonstration leads to documentation, which is your story. Nobody wants to be managed. Nobody wants to be recruited. People want to be impressed. To impress other people, we must be impressive. Through documentation, you start to duplicate. Through duplication, you start to disappear, and you move to that next level of the game. So I'm going to run that back. Desire leads to discipline. The discipline leads to demonstration. The demonstration leads to documentation, which is your story. Documentation leads to duplication, and duplication leads to you disappearing and moving to the next level. You see, you're never going to disappear unless you actually duplicate. You're never going to duplicate unless you document your story. You're never going to document unless you demonstrate. You're never going to demonstrate unless you have discipline. You're never going to have the discipline unless you have the desire and the ardent desire of that crystal clear clarity, okay? We're talking about a lot of things today, but I want to let you guys know how you guys can be great speakers too, because there's going to be a point where you guys are up here, okay, speaking to other individuals. You want a bar, you want the spotlight, it starts with the street lights, okay? You want the spotlight, it starts with the street lights. You want to be in the top 1% of all speakers in the world, you would have to understand this one concept. If I was to ask you to envision a tree, how many leaves are on a tree? A lot, right? How many branches are on the tree?
One trunk.
How many trunks are on the tree? One trunk. You have to be able to break it down to this one main idea. And the first thing we talked about is clarity, right? Having the clarity of vision. When you have the clarity of vision, you know, I saw it in a lot of you guys' eyes who just shared who is your who. You know, that's where you have to start. That's your base, right? And then we can build the technique. We can build helping you get better at sales. We can help you focus on what you program up here. And, you know, TOD, time on doors, it's having that behavior. A lot of people procrastinate, and what procrastination is ruining your future, avoiding the present, and living in the past. I'm going to repeat that. When you procrastinate, you ruin your future, you avoid the present, and you live in the past. So when we procrastinate, we ruin our future. We avoid the present. And we live in the past. So when we procrastinate, we ruin our future. We avoid the present. And we live in the past. Okay, you can make plays, you can make excuses, but you can't make both. Including your family on the journey. Critical part of this game that we play. Temporary imbalance. Sometimes I'm grinding. People are like, dude, Taylor, don't you want to stop knocking doors? Don't you want to stop doing this? This is a game I play. I love it. When people were like, hey, all you do is live, eat, and sleep sales. Well, guess what? I'm going to balance it out later in my life, right? When I have my kids, I ain't missing any of their sports games, right? I'm going to, whatever sport that they like, I'm going to be training them every single day. Research and development. Always thinking 2 moves ahead. Play chess, not checkers. Communication is what makes the vision a reality. Communication is what makes the vision a reality. As a team, as much of the great content that I'm giving you and the one-liners and stuff, contact actually beats content. Contact beats content. How do you guys communicate? On a group chat?
Yep.
What group chat do you guys use?
Well, for the Boston and Connecticut being in one, we use GroupMe, and then for Connecticut, just our team iPhone.
Yeah.
Group
Perfect.
message, and same with Boston.
Perfect. And you notice the days where the group chat's ripping, you guys have your best days, right?
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Momentum.
Contact beats content. You know what's funny is I don't judge my success on the amount of sales that I make. I always tell people it's because I'm Irish and I continue to get lucky, right? We got any Irishmen in here? No? I'm the only one? A couple, right? Irish people are really, I'm really lucky for some reason. I'm like the one that like finds $20, like wins scratch tickets. But I tell people it's because I'm Irish and I continue to get lucky. That's why I get sales. However, I judge myself in 3 categories every single day. So if you start judging yourself in these 3 categories, you're going to see what happens. The first thing you're judging yourself is from 1 through 10 every day on your level of effort and input. Speaking of a day, this is how I break up my day. 9 to 9:30, I'm going to a gas station. I'm filling up my cooler with ice. I'm setting up a mobile 7-Eleven for the entire day, so I don't need to leave turf. 9:30 to 10, I'm putting myself in front of a homeowner. I'm spot knocking. 10 to 12, I'm like Christian Gonzalez. I'm a cornerback. I'm looking for an interception the first 2 hours of the day. It's bonus time. 10 to 12 is bonus time for me. 12 to 3 is shift 1. 3 to 6 is shift 2. 6 to 9 is shift 3. And then I'm setting all my appointments up later in the day. If I can set up my appointments for 8, 9, 10 o'clock, great. That's how you get 7 self-gens in a day, is you're setting appointments really early and really late. So I break up days into different days. Number 1, I focus on effort and input from 1 through 10. Number 2, I judge myself on how interesting that I am in the field. To create interest, you must be interesting. If you're out there in the field and you don't get a result for 2 hours knocking, you need to check yourself. Hey, I'm not being as interesting. To be getting people interested, I need to be interesting. Be a little bit different. If you sound like every other door-to-door salesman, what do you think people are going to say? Right? So what I'm doing is completely different. They've never talked to me before. They've never talked to you before. Be interesting and be unique. To create interest, we must be interesting. And number 3, from 1 through 10, I judge myself on how much fun I had during the day. If you're not having fun, it's not worth it. I promise. You're not going to be able to last. If you look at this like a grind and you have to go out there and knock doors, then you shouldn't do this. You should look at it like you get to. You are on a grown man's Easter egg hunt. If you realize that every 7 doors you got an Easter egg and it had $5,000 in it, you would be running door to door, okay? You're not out there like knocking doors, you're going exercising and making friends. Sometimes I don't want to exercise and make friends, and I just look for scratch tickets, and the better I talk, the more I win on the scratch ticket each home. To break it down to the ridiculous, what you guys do is you are paid thousands of dollars to give away free money. Stop overcomplicating. When you overcomplicate things, you get overwhelmed. Same with the homeowner. When you overcomplicate the sales process, a lot of my closes now are like 10, 15 minutes. Like, it's not a long process. It's just, I have a little chart. I show them the left side of the chart. I show them the right side of the chart. And I say, after showing you this, is there any reason why you'd want to continue paying the electric company? It's very logical, right? This is not a hard sale. Just sometimes people overcomplicate it, and then the homeowner gets overwhelmed. I wouldn't want somebody sitting in my living room for 2 hours explaining to me like what kind of conduit and inverter. You know, I just go into, this is what it is. You're either excited about it or, you know, you just continue paying the utility company. And then lastly is vulnerability, guys. Vulnerability is the birthplace to innovation. You know, everyone that shared who was their who, you know, that's vulnerability right there. And, you know, it creates clarity in your vision of what you want to accomplish. So closing, creating the emotional climate. So what I wanted to do now is I wanted to share a little bit of footage, and then I want to go into some questions with you guys. So I didn't get the sale, but I took it pretty damn far, and that was pretty cool. You know what I mean? Sometimes you need to capture the small little wins. You know, it's like some people do it, some people don't. But, you know, persisting and realizing the average yes comes after the 5th to 7th consecutive closing attempt. So I wanted to show you that. And then the other one I wanted to show you is one of the hardest closes that I think I've ever got. So I want to show you guys this. This lady was crazy. If you ever go to Florida. So, I mean, that was a battle, but the best thing about that sale is it's installed, dude. It's not about just selling it, it's about, you know, taking them through the process. And it's just, that's the art of blending complete opposites right there, you know. It's not what I say, it's not how I say it, it's, you know, really how I can make that family feel and, you know, help them through the process. And, you know, conviction won because I knew that I was going to help their situation. I want to quickly break down the steps of my sale. So if I'm knocking a door, these are my steps. The first step is affirmation, right? This is a done deal. This would be ridiculous for them to want to stay with the utility company. Who you are, I always use my first and last name. Oh, hey, sir, how are you? My name is Taylor McCarthy. The reason I'm coming by is like a little bit different. I'll pretty much cut to the chase and give you the short version. This is 3508 Wright Street, and then I show them a picture of their roof with the app called Knock Buddy. Who you are, why you're there, and then the way I create curiosity is with this question. I don't know if you know. I don't know if you kind of know what's going on. Through that, I don't know if you know, I have to be able to tell a story that's local to the market. When I tell the story, I need to attach pain to the story. If there is no pain, there will never be a change. So affirmation, who you are, why you're there. The reason I'm coming by is like a little bit different, right? Just a little vague. I don't know if you know, to create curiosity. Tell the story that's related to the market. After I tell the story, then I want to create the pain. After I create the pain, I explain how they would be potentially involved, how they would be rewarded, and then why it makes sense. One of my money lines is, bottom line, you're going to fall into one or two categories. Category 1, everything that I just explained to you makes complete and total sense. Or category 2, it just sounds way too good to be true. And you're probably sitting there like, wait a second, what's the catch? The catch is simple. Why'd you guys pick Eversource, right? And then my job is very simple. All I do today are two things. I show you where the panels are laid out on the roof and what your bill would have been last month. If there's a small little corner of a table where I can kind of sit, I'll show you how it looks. Two things that salespeople need to focus more on is they need to focus on taking it away and they need to focus on transitioning, right? They ask you a question, it's getting a little chilly out here, sir. Would you mind if we stepped in? I can answer your questions. Get into the home. On the door you have pest, and the home you are guest. And then don't be afraid to take it away. If you were eligible for this program, the way it would work, well, we'd have to make sure that you were eligible. You know, your goal is to take the sale as far as you can. In a close, one of the most critically important parts of my close is something called an intent statement. I'm going to give you an example of my intent statement right now. This is how I set up the entire close, okay? So Owen, you'll be the homeowner. Nice, man. So did you end up going to that Super Bowl party you were telling me about?
Yeah, dude, I got over there. I was pretty hungover the next morning, man, not gonna lie.
Yeah, man. What was your drink of choice?
Well, once Shane Gillis popped on the commercial, I had to smack down some Bud Lights, you know what I mean?
There you go. Dude, I wish it was a little bit, the Chiefs could have put up a little bit of a better fight, but you know what's crazy is I think everybody was voting on the Chiefs. That's why I felt like the Eagles, plus they had the pain of loss from a couple of years ago, so, but yeah, when I, first off, want to genuinely thank you for the time that you're even giving me. I always like to tell the families that I help get involved with this program to keep it somewhat exploratory, meaning my job as a professional is just to show you the logic behind this, where I'd show you an apples to apples comparison, what you have with the utility company compared to redirecting, or Judy was a little dramatic, but she said maneuvering away from the utility company, where you'd gain that control and predictability. Now, over the course of the next 15 minutes, I'm going to challenge, like, we don't believe in high pressure or anything like that. I'm a consumer myself. But the one thing I am going to challenge you to do is to look for every reason this will not help your situation. If you can identify the reasons why it's better to stay with the utility company, we can shake hands, we can be friends, you just stay with Eversource. However, if we can only identify the reasons why it's going to help your situation, the idea is we would put you into the back of the line, and there's 3 specific check marks we need to obtain. First is structural. Do you know, like, if any portion of the back of the roof has any sort of shading with trees?
Yeah, there's only like one little tree. It's an apple tree, so my girl planted, so it's not
Perfect,
crazy.
yeah.
You know what
So the structural team will be out here either Thursday or Friday at the end of the week to look at the structure to make sure everything is structurally sound. Then we'll submit an application to the utility company to make sure that, you know, we can get the interconnection approved, and then we apply for your permitting.
What's interconnection?
So interconnection is we need to. The biggest catch is the utility company has the right, and if you read the fine print on this, it states that the utility reserves the right to disqualify due to current infrastructure.
Okay.
So these systems are all grid dependent. If the system can't interconnect to the meter, then it doesn't allow the meter to go into the opposite direction. The idea is the sun goes up, the bills go down because the panels are absorbing the sunlight and moving into an inverter. So we need to get an application with Eversource approved to be able to get this to go. Once we're able to get all 3 of those check marks, then we schedule an installation, then it gets inspected, then it gets turned on, and the system starts working for you. Just paying less than a bill you're never going to cancel. Right? So what I'm doing in that intent statement is I'm anchoring a lot of things. Like, I want to challenge you to look for every reason this does not make sense. If you don't, we're going to submit the applications today. We're moving forward today. This isn't the meeting about the meeting to have the meeting. This is the meeting, right? And that's what I try to focus on, you know, during same-day closes.
So you say that on the doors?
That's on my intent statement at the table.
Okay.
That's on my close.
And that's when you're starting?
Well, yeah, it's when I start my close, it's, hey, I'm shooting the shit with you, I'm helping you relax, and then it's, hey man, I really want to thank you for the time that you're even giving me. I always like to tell the families that I help get involved with this to keep it somewhat exploratory, meaning my job as a solar professional is just to show you the logic behind this. I'm going to put a line down the middle of a piece of paper. I'm going to show you the situation that you're in today with the utility company. I'm going to show you where the panels are laid out on the roof, what your bill would have been on this side. We go over these questions. These questions determine whether or not we pick your home. You know, I don't believe in high pressure. One thing I'm going to challenge you is to look for every reason, you know, and every intent statement's a little bit different, but what I'm doing is I'm anchoring a lot of things down and I'm setting the roadmap for the homeowner. The good thing about that is my closes are not 40, 50 an hour. It's like sometimes 15 minutes, dude, 20 minutes. Like, all I do is I fill out the left side of the chart. I create a bunch of pain on what their situation is today. I flip over the paper. I'm like a police officer. Anything they say will be held against them. I ask loaded questions where I get them to tell me the reasons they want to do it. Then after they tell me they want to do it, I say, okay, I'm going to show you how this works, and you tell me if you think it's fair. Do you have any issue with us using you as a reference? Nope. Non-disclosure. If a neighbor asks to say you're part of a special marketing program, nope. Keeping the small little sign in the front planner for the visibility, no problem with that. Awesome. So as long as you're cool with those 3 things, I'm going to pull up the design, I flip over the paper, and I just show them both situations. Like, it's an apples to apples comparison, and then I show them everything, and then I say that's it. There's no more, there's no less. I could give you a 2-hour long process. I could go into every detail about, you know, how the panels work. But this is how it is. After showing you all this, is there any reason why you'd want to continue paying the utility company? No. Okay, well, the idea is we'll put you into the back of the line. We're going to submit for eligibility today, and then I just shoot the shit with them and make them feel comfortable in making the decision. Because that's all closing is. What we talked about is creating the decision. But it starts with the way that you think, because those thoughts create the words, create an emotion, creates a feeling, creates a judgment. 4 P's of being able to get the sale. Starts with prospecting. Prospecting is knocking. The best thing I heard about prospecting is prospect your way out of ever having to prospect. Get out in front of more people. Your goal is to have 25 to 30 quality conversations a day. After you prospect, you present. The best thing I ever heard about presenting is getting the family physically involved. I have a whole arsenal, right? I have a binder. Anybody see the binder I carry when I knock? Anybody have like a really good day in sales and they walk into the gas station and they walk something and they're just like feeling some type of way? Yeah. I'm in Illinois, I just got 5 self-gens on the day, and I'm walking into a gas station, I'm just like twisting my binder. You know, if you got pop-out handles on your binder, you're a gangster. I'm walking into the gas station and the guy's like, hey, what do you got in that binder? I'm like, bro, I got a whole arsenal in this binder. Because I'm getting the family physically involved. I put something in their hand, I walk to the curb, I take it away, I flip it over, I hand them something else. So the number one thing about presenting is getting the family physically involved. So we prospect, we present. Number 3, which is what most salesmen are not good at, is positioning value. What I mean by positioning value is getting the homeowner to say, oh wow, I've never thought about it that way. The way I position value is very simple. All we propose is utilizing your roof as a power plant where you could produce your power on site and no longer be at the mercy of the power company. So the idea is the sun goes up, the bills go down, you're almost setting up the roof as an LLC, right?
Can you say that again?
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah. You said it one time.
So ultimately, all we're proposing is utilizing the roof as a power plant where you can produce your power on site and you're no longer at the mercy of the power company. The idea is the sun goes up, the bills go down. Right? And then if you want to break it a little bit, you just like turn and say, actually, I don't know if you've heard of the sun. It was invented maybe about 2 weeks ago. I start like super serious, be like, no, I'm just kidding. No, but I think after helping so many families get involved with this, people just want to get away from the utility company. Like people aren't going solar to save $35 a month so they can run to the 99 and pick up some gold fever wings, sir. They're doing this because they want to gain control and predictability, and they realize that Eversource has a stronghold. What was the main reason that you guys picked Eversource? Yeah, so it's like imagine if a new utility company opened up in Boston and worked its way down to Connecticut and said that by producing your power on site, we completely eliminate the middleman, which is the utility company. So it's like the lights don't look any different. It's just how can you be more economical on a bill you're never going to cancel? There's a lot of things that I use. Like, are you selling a lot of PPAs?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I use reverse selling a lot. You know, like say the sales going not the way, I say, hey, look, rather than me telling you all the reasons why it makes sense to go solar, I'll be the one to tell you why you should never, ever put solar panels on your roof. If I was sitting here trying to convince you to go into any sort of debt, you'd probably tell me to kick rocks, like especially if there was a big loan involved with that and it didn't cover all the manufacturer warranty. What we would propose is something a little bit different. We maintain it, we warranty it. We're just selling you the power that system produces the same way the utility company is, just wiping out the middleman of all those surcharges. I think people are putting one and one together and they're just sick and tired of getting nickel and dime from the utility company. But it's just like, that's why we're putting together somewhat of a petition that we like to refer to as the redirection program. How many years have you guys lived here? Right? Ask a lot of questions. Yeah. You want to know a good one? And if you never heard this is fire. How many of you guys ever get stressed before? When you get frustrated and you get mad, you withdraw or you quit or you become hostile. But when you get frustrated and you are creative with the situation, that's how you get better. So whenever I had frustrated, I would say, how can I be creative with the situation to avoid getting mad or anything? You want another bar? If you haven't heard this one before, this is an absolute bar. This shit changed my life. Ready for it? He who angers you controls you. He who angers you controls you. He who angers you controls you. You've never heard that before. Don't let somebody else control you. The thing is doing this for 17 years, you know, like you're all my younger brothers, even if you were older than me, because no one's really been able to last this amount of time and been able to really create a profession with it, you know. Anybody else takeaways?
Well, I have a question. How do you, being as big as you are, how do you stay grounded?
I don't think I'm bigger than anyone else. I think I'm no different than all you guys. I had a 1.8 GP in high school. I grew up in a small town in Massachusetts. I don't think I just am on the continuous journey, and there's a lot that we all have to work on, and you know, I don't look at myself like that. I'm the same person you see in the YouTube. You know, it's like I'm no different. You know.
What do you still try to achieve in life?
What was I? What?
What are you trying to achieve in life? Like, what are you still trying to achieve?
I'm on the continuous journey to become the best version of myself. You know what I mean? And the harder that we work on ourselves, the better that we are in our occupation and what we do. So I just constantly building every portion of my life, and you know, the more I can build, the more I can serve, the more I can help people, and that's where it really comes from. being able to take over for Tom Hopkins, that's some huge shoes to fill. Like when I got to China and I spoke in front of like 70,000 people, it was like one of the coolest experiences of my life. I thought I would never go to China, and it was honestly one of the coolest countries I've ever been to. If you've ever watched the movie Crazy Rich Asians, that was basically my experience. These people were like, I mean, dude, there was like security guards, like police officers surrounded me when I walked in there. I always tell people, I'm like, bro, it was all fun and games until the end. All the girls, they wanted to take photos with me, and they go to take the photo with me, and I'm looking at the camera as they're taking the photo, and every single one of these chicks had a makeup filter on the camera. So I'm looking at myself, and I got lipstick, I got eyelashes. I'm like, bro, I'm gonna end up on a Chinese TikTok looking like a woman right here.
Taylor McCarthy goes lady boy.
Question, anybody? Right here.
When you first like started, what motivated you every day? What kept you going?
It's just competing, competition. The two greatest motivators is the need to be challenged and the need to reach that next level of comfort. The two biggest demotivators are burnout and boredom. So if I'm constantly challenging myself, and if your back's up against the wall, I loved when people bet against me. When people bet against you, that's when you can put your last name on your back and say, hey, I'm gonna go prove it to you. That goes back to the 6 Ds. The desire, create the discipline, allows you to demonstrate. That documentation is your story, where people are like, oh, I used to go to high school with this kid, now he's driving around a brand new Audi, or BMW, or this kid's got a Lambo, or he's got this or that. Oh, well, let me figure out what he's doing. And then through documentation and impressing people, you start to duplicate. Then you have other people that you're helping. Why I said it's so important to have somebody you're mentoring. Then you duplicate, you disappear, you move to the next level, right? And then
every time you knocked door by doors and they rejected you, what did you tell yourself after that?
rejection turns me on, brother. I'm amused by hostile people. I never see failure as failure, but only as a learning experience. I never see failure as failure, but only as the opportunity to develop my sense of humor. I never see failure as failure, but only as the ability to be amused by hostile people and turned on by rejection. Right? That rejection has to turn you on. I don't get paid for the yeses, bro. I do that out of a good willingness to help people. When people go solar, I don't consider that the money that I get. I get money when the people say no. I'm on a door, she's like on her 34th no, and she's ready to slam the door in my face. I say, miss, just before you go, I just want to confirm you want to opt out of this program and stay with the utility company, correct? And she's like, yes. I said, let's go, $800, baby. And she's like, what? And I said, no, I get paid when people like opt out of the program. When people like do it, I do that out of a good willingness to help people. But since you're opting out, I just have to let upper management know I just made $800. What was your name, by the way? I really appreciate that. And she opens the door a little bit. She's like, well, what do you mean? $800? And I was like, yeah, I told you. Sales is a Broadway show played by psychologists. That's all sales is.
Got your question? This is gonna have some logic behind it for these guys too. Is when you first started, when did you really start seeing some money?
So I was a golf caddy before. And I used to carry 2 golf bags, and I'd earn $50 to $60 for 4 or 5 hours of caddying. Then my first day of knocking door to door, I was selling Verizon Fios in Wareham, Massachusetts, and I would earn $86 a sale, and to switch people to the Fios. And I remember I did 3 in my first hour, and I was like, holy shit, that would have taken me 5 rounds of golf caddying to earn what I just got. So when I mentioned you're all on a grown man's Easter egg hunt, if you went out there and you realized every one of the 12 doors or 15 doors or whatever your ratio is based on your technique led to $5,000 Easter egg, you would be running door to door. First comes the action, then comes the motivation. Risk is the down payment for success. A lot of you guys need to commit now and figure it out later. Like, just make the commitment now, marry the game. You see, most people are interested when they need to be committed. That's the question you should really ask yourself. Are you interested or are you committed? Are you the strobe light or are you the laser beam? Because once you make the commitment to marry the game, you're never going to work another day in your life. And then it's like, who remembers Inspector Gadget? Is that before you guys' time? No. Nobody remembers Inspector Gadget? Yeah, Inspector Gadget, for everyone that knows, if you don't know it, it's not going to hit, but it's like Operation Go-Go Gadget Bank Account, you know, is the you guys are on a trip to the money right now. You're on a trip to the freedom, like we talked about, but it starts with you guys having clarity, clarity of vision, okay? How's your attitude? Positive! How does that make you feel? Strong! We are! Number one! Born to be! Number one! Shall remain! Number one! We are! ISP! We are! ISP! We are! ISP! Let's go! 2, 3. I'm alive, I'm alert, and I feel great. I'm alive, I'm alert, and I feel great. I'm alive, I'm alert, and I feel great. Fire! Fire!
Throw those chairs up against some fucking walls. Make some walls.
Hey, I want to close it off. I want to close it off with this last thing. I do not see a company here. I see a family. And the first thing that's on my list of the most important things I learned in 17 years was do business with people you want to do life with. You can make plays, you can make excuses, you can't make both. Sincerely, thank you guys for having me here today, and I'm rooting for you guys. I really am.
Living life just like a rock star. Don't you know that I'm a mother effing rock star? Yeah, I be in them streets feeling like a mob star. But you know I'm fresh to death, I'm eating shrimp and lobster. Yeah, I sell any freaking offer.